a pass catcher who was added last year via trade by the Arizona Cardinals, met with reporters yesterday. And this is one of the practical realities of the Kyler Murray homework clause you have created by insisting on the addition of a requirement that he engage in at least 4 hours of study each week during football season. You have created a distraction, because a distraction is the thing that everybody in the locker room, especially the receivers and tight ends and quarterbacks and coaches, are going to be asked about. Zach Ertz was the first one to be asked about it yesterday. Here's a little bit of the back and forth about Zach Ertz discussing the Kyler Murray homework clause.
I wasn't obviously there for the process. It's way above my pay grade, but he seems like he's in a really good place mentally today. And he seemed like he's been in a really good place all offseason, in my opinion. I think he's learned from the Rams game. We've all learned a lot. The addendum is what it is, but in my opinion, Kyler's the guy that knows the playbook inside and out. When I first got here last year, he was the guy that was helping me along in learning the playbook. And ultimately, I got to be on the same page as him. So he was helping me with all of that. And ultimately, he's happy. And no matter what the contract says in the language, he's happy, and that's all that matters to me.
Now, in full fairness, Zach Ertz later was asked a specific question about preparation for opposing defenses, because knowing the playbook is completely unrelated. We were texting about this yesterday, completely unrelated to film study in advance of a game. That's not to learn your playbook.
Exactly.
That's to learn the other team's defense and what the 11 guys who you're going to be encountering do and where the weaknesses may be.
Yes.
Now, Ertz said he always knows the other defense. I would ask him questions and he would have answers. And that's fine. Look, the guy who catches passes knows there's certain things you have to say about the guy who decides where he's going to throw the passes. It's not like he's going to throw Kyler Murray under the bus. People are like, oh, see, it's a non-issue because Zach Ertz said he knows the opposing defense. Well, no, it is an issue because the team decided to jam this clause into the contract. And my understanding is it was a deal breaker from the team's position. They insisted on having this in there.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what anybody in the locker room says. Yeah. Somebody high enough up in that organization thought there was an issue with the amount of time Kyler Murray was studying the opposing defenses week in and week out. And he admitted it to the New York Times. We talked about it yesterday. He admitted that he doesn't grind film the way other quarterbacks do.
It's real. The more the time passes, the more you just sit there and, like, even when we get done with the show yesterday and you think about it more, you go, of course it's real. I mean, how is this not a real thing? It's not just like something they made up and just said, hey, let's put this in the contract too. There obviously was something there within the organization that they felt that this needed to be put in there. And I don't know who it is or what it was, but it just doesn't go in there, unless it was real. It doesn't. They had to know that this was going to be a little bit of an issue, but I'm thinking they didn't care because the issue of, all right, wait, he's not watching film enough was more of an issue. So they were willing to deal with this blowback right here. All right? Your point, exactly right about the playbook. I mean, first off, if you don't know your playbook, you don't give the guy $230 million. I mean, that's a given. I mean, and of course he knows the playbook. He's been in the same playbook since a freshman year in college. So that's, to me, maybe part of the problem here, too, is the fact that when he was a rookie, he was teaching all the veterans the offense and didn't, probably felt like he was the smartest guy. So that's that. Here's the quote from the New York Times, and I'm going to continue to talk. But, Mike, you also said it right, too. All right, so Zach Ertz talked about the defense. Listen, I'm not saying we don't think Kyler Murray got in the game and was like, man, I don't know what defenses they play. I think he knows. He's listening all week in the team meetings, the quarterback meetings, all of that. The point is that you watch the film to gain little clues, like you're saying, that can give you just a microsecond of, oh, wait, here this comes. I can be ready for it, whether it's the changing of a coverage and you're just starting a drop back or whatever, or getting a feel for a blitz is coming to go, oh, wait, you changed the route of the receiver or change the play altogether. Wait, I saw this last week when the safety creeps over just a little bit. Now they're going to do this blitz and it's going to be something else. That's why you watch the film. And to me, that's what this is all saying. It's not that he's dumb or not smart or doesn't know things. He understands all that. I just don't think he's doing the next level stuff. I think you and I are both saying the same thing. where it's Brady, Rodgers, Manning, where they're like, oh, his toes pointed this way, his arms this way. I saw this on film. That might mean he's playing zone or blitzing or whatever. And those are the little things that get you over the top against the great teams in football. And I think that's what we're talking about here.
Chris Spielman was on this program before you joined us on a full-time basis, and he was mesmerizing talking about the process of studying film from the defensive perspective, but it's the same idea.
Yeah.
You're looking at the 11 guys on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and you're trying to find anything that you see them do in other games that you can apply to what you see in real time as the play is preparing to happen and once the play begins to unfold. Anything you can find, any edge that helps you understand what the other team is going to do, because you have your plan, they have their plan. And the more you can figure out what their plan is and where their guys are going to move, because there's only 11. Once this guy moves this way, it creates something here. If he goes this way, it creates something here.
Yes.
And it is, and I think this is the problem with it. Because, Chris, it's got to be tedious, boring, demanding. You got to be focused. You got to be studying actively for anything you see that makes you say, we've cracked this a little bit. When, the outside linebacker, when he puts his right foot back behind his left one, and that's when he drops into coverage. And when he has the right foot up, even with the left foot, that's when he rushes. You find something like that.
Yeah.
And this is, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The two miscues in coaching by Mike Zimmer that cost the Vikings 2 victories last year. All it takes is one play in one game on one drive, and that can change your whole season. So that's the edge that Peyton Manning looked for obsessively.
Right.
And that's what they're trying to get Kyler Murray to do. Because if you take his incredible physical skills and you throw on top of it the kind of dedication that a Peyton Manning had to studying every aspect of the opposing defense, you have a guy who's unstoppable.
Yes, no doubt about it. You're right. I mean, it's a special talent. There is. And that's where I think this is all is. I mean, again, yeah. Hey, Brady and Manning, they're not so next level. It's not even about the DBs and the safeties and all that. They're getting clues from the defensive line, the great quarterbacks, going, man, this defensive tackle, when he's head up on the guard, they usually bring the Mike linebacker and the Sam linebacker on a blitz. And when he's on the outside shade, they play Tampa 2 or cover 3 and all that. That's where, it can get to. And to your point, yes, he has special ability, but hey, it's kind of the gift and the curse. That's what happens with special ability sometimes too. To Bucky Brooks' point and what we said yesterday, I mean, he steps on the field and he kicks butt no matter what level it is, wherever he is. And even for the NFL, like we've talked about, he's had a lot of moments of kicking butt there too. But I think this is the thing we're looking at is, and it's a little bit of the theme of the Cardinals, hey, the middle class, the lower class of the NFL, you can get away with it a little bit. You're talented. You guys are pretty well coached, have that. But to get to the next level and start winning playoff games consecutively, that's where film study, Cliff Kingsbury changing up the game plan, all of that stuff takes you to the next level. And that's where Murray's got to get to. And again, we've seen really talented guys before. They rely on their physical talents when they've been able to get it done for the most part. But I think we're getting to that time where you go, you're not going to get it done for the most part all the time anymore.
And what's been the problem with Murray and the Cardinals his 3 years in the NFL? What's been the problem?
Yeah, end of the year starts.
Right. And what? And think about end of the year.
No doubt.
You're getting ready to play a team in Week 16.
Sure.
There's a lot more film to pick through, and they're doing it to you. If you're not doing it to them, advantage them. And that may be one of the reasons for the Cliff can't finish Kingsbury teams of the last 9 years. They're working hard, but maybe they're not working on the right things when you get to the end of the season. You got to access that full database of everything that team you're getting ready to play has done from the preseason until now. And it becomes, I would assume, more arduous when you face an opponent later in the year, especially if it's not a team from your division, where you've got to do the full workup, and you don't have a whole lot of time to do it. And that may be one of the ingredients between having a team that starts strong and finishes strong, or a team that does fall apart. And again, last year I think the ankle had a lot to do with it, but all the more reason to be grinding the film. If you know your ankle is going to put you at a disadvantage, you better find your advantage somewhere else in knowing even more about what the 11 guys on the other side of the line are going to be doing, Chris.
Yeah, 100%. And then, you I think you're saying it right. Like, you couple an injury with Kyler Murray, and DeAndre Hopkins isn't there, and then Rondale Moore got banged up a little bit, and so all of a sudden now that's when it's supposed to, our players who just make plays for us all the time, they're not here. They can't make plays. We gotta coach and find other angles or other ways to gain an advantage. And I think that's what you're talking about. Was as the season goes on, we're not seeing them do that. So we'll see where it goes. Let me ask you this, Mike. Do you think the team needs to come out and kind of make a statement in defense of Kyler Murray, or say something here to diffuse the conversation a little bit?
After the show yesterday, I actually took it on myself to do something I rarely do, which is work. And I tried to find out more information about how this all came to be and how important it was to the final deal. And I asked the Cardinals, can I just have 5 minutes with somebody to talk about this clause? It may have come from the very top, from Michael Bidwell, this clause. Oh, can I talk to him for 5 minutes? Can I have anybody? They don't want to talk about it. So I think they realize that they may have stepped in it, and they're in the process of trying to ignore it and or scrape it off their shoe and move on. They don't want to make it a bigger deal than it already is. So they declined to comment on it, and that's that. So they don't, but they're going to be asked about it. Kyler Murray's going to be asked about it. And I don't know. I don't. Remember when Russell Wilson did his second contract? Not his second contract, his most recent one, his third contract with the Seahawks. I remember first getting the vibe in the aftermath of that transaction that he's not doing another one in Seattle. Just a divorce is inevitable. Depending upon how they handle this with Kyler Murray and his 4 hours per week of mandatory study, this could be the wedge that they can't come back from. And it may take 3 or 4 years. But this could be the moment where the relationship begins to fracture, and we'll see. We'll see. But it's just not a healthy relationship to have that thrown in there, Chris.
No, it's not. It definitely is going to make things a little awkward. I mean, hopefully they can, realize it's a mistake and try to move on and go on to bigger or better things here. And I don't even know.
One last point, though. Let me make one last point before I forget, because I've forgotten for the entire discussion. Another thing we reported yesterday, there's a separate clause in the agreement which contains a very broad prohibition on any baseball activities. Extremely broad. He can't even look at a baseball, basically, without jeopardizing his guarantees. And it's not quite that broad. But he can't play, he can't practice, can't try out, can't do anything with any baseball team anywhere. And, of course, that's in there because he was a top 10 draft pick of the Oakland A's, and he still talked about, up until he signed his contract, maybe trying to do both someday.
Yeah.
So they had a reason to put that in there. Here's the point. They had a reason to put the no baseball clause in there.
Right.
They had a reason to put the 4 hours of study in there. They're not just pulling stuff out of the air. And let's say you can't buy a Porsche. Let's put that in there. I mean, it's not just random stuff that there's no reason to require of the guy.
Yeah.
There was a reason to say no baseball. There's a reason to say 4 hours per week of study.
No, and when I hear you say things like deal breaker and all that thing and that type of stuff, that's when I do go, I don't know. I mean, if it came from the owner or whatever else there, the owner's he's not even if he did put it in there and wanted it in there and make it happen, like it's not him that tells everybody like, hey, I want to put this provision in. He's being told by coaches and people in the organization too. So this is not like he just grabbed this out of thin air. I wouldn't be shocked if this is Cliff Kingsbury playing good cop bad cop behind the scene, talking to his agent Kyler. Hey, everything's good, and then going up to the owner Michael Bidwell and go, we might need to put this clause in the contract. Don't tell them I told you this, but we need to put this clause in the contract. I wouldn't be shocked if that's how it went down.
And again, the next level genius here would be if the Cardinals knew it was going to get out, knew that it was going to make them look bad in the short term, but that public reaction reinforces the point to Kyler and coaxes him to be more dedicated and motivated.
Might have watched 4 hours of film last night.
Maybe watching 4 hours of film every day for the rest of his life, even after he's done playing.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.